it was going to serve two purposes. Number one, I'm testing out the live stream process, but number two, sometimes I don't have enough content that will really suffice for a full video. So I just want to make this real quickly. And I think I'm going to title these videos the health tip of the week. And today I want to talk about insulin resistance. And in my previous videos, I've talked about insulin resistance and what the American Diabetes Association considered a gold standard test to determine whether or not you are insulin resistant or pre-diabetic, which is the OGTT, the oral glucose tolerance test. And today, I specifically want to share with you what you can do. Number one, if you are already diagnosed insulin resistant, or whether or not you're preparing to take that test and you just don't know. The first thing I want to say is this: I believe everybody should have this specific test, no matter how healthy you claim that you eat, how good you look on the outside. This has nothing to do with what you look like externally. Although people with diabetes, sometimes depending on how aggressive they are in that particular disease state, they do look a certain way. But this is really trying to get you not to look at the um, very non particular side of it, which is my exterior, but really looking at how your cells are operating from the inside. And you cannot do that really without testing. And so I would encourage you, number one, for everyone to go and get a oral glucose tolerance test. And for those who are joining, I am talking about insulin resistance, pre-diabetes. The reason that I'm so passionate about this specific test and just diabetes as a whole, and preventing yourself from having diabetes, is because I've seen how damaging this disease is and the damages that it causes to not only you externally but internally, and how it reduces your lifespan. And I don't believe that that's a disease that we have to die from. And so I've seen people who have had their limbs amputated. I know for those who has actually had to be on dialysis. And in many of those cases, well, all those cases that I'm talking about, that I know personally, could have been prevented. And so I want to share with you today what are some of the things that you can do if you already are insulin resistant, or you're pre-diabetic, or even a diabetic. I would probably rest assured that most people who are already diagnosed diabetic, they did not have an oral glucose tolerance test. And that's the first thing that I'm going to recommend, is that you have a oral glucose tolerance test first to determine whether or not you are pre-diabetic, which is insulin resistant, or whether or not you're in full-blown diabetes. That was be the first thing. So you want, and also in addition to the oral glucose tolerance test, you want to actually have a full blood work panel. So what you want to be able to do is to sit down and objectively look at this information all together at once. You want to look at your OGTT, which is the oral glucose tolerance test. You want to be able to look at your blood glucose. You want to look at your fasting insulin and your A1C. And I'm pretty sure if you've actually had blood work done, you've heard people talk about A1C. That is important. However, oftentimes if you have a good A1C, which meaning that it's 5.7 or less, it still does not pick up if you're insulin resistant. And the insulin resistance is what's going to cause you the damage over a long period of time. You got to understand that diabetes is very silent over the years. And when it comes to the surface and you're actually diagnosed, you probably have been insulin resistant or diabetic probably 10 years prior. And by that time, there have been organs that have been impacted. There have been arterioles, capillaries, those very small blood vessels that have been damaged. And this is why you start seeing someone has to, why this person is on dialysis and why this person is on insulin. Why does this person start losing weight? Why is this person having heart problems? Because they have been insulin resistant for so many years, not knowing it. And the doctor is not catching it because the only thing that they're looking at is your A1C and probably your blood glucose. Most doctors don't even check the fasting insulin. So that's what you can ask for. And the other part is that you need to understand that in order to have a oral glucose tolerance test, again, which is the gold standard recommended by the American Diabetes Association, you're going to have some type of relationship with a doctor. That test has to be ordered by a doctor. You just can't go get this a la carte, maybe like at Quest or something like that. So make sure you establish a relationship with a doctor and you request it. Most doctors are not going to order it. You request it. Okay. You can request it. If that doctor doesn't want to give it to you, go find somebody else. Let's not get married to practitioners. Get what you need and move on. So you want that objective data. The biggest problem that I'm seeing with, if you look online with most, like say for instance, fitness influencers, they always say that they eat clean and they eat healthy. Well, what does that mean? And how do you know what you're eating and what you're doing is actually really being productive for your health? The only way that you know that how you know this is by getting tested, by looking at the objective data that your body is given. Now, I have a lot of respect for health practitioners or therapeutic partners. You do hear me say, if you watch any of my videos, that my mission is to optimize my health and performance by reducing my reliance on the healthcare system. What that means for me is I want to have full control by the grace of God, by his direction over my own health. I don't bow because a doctor tells me to do something, because I've seen the aftermath of a doctor giving a patient direction and it was to their demise. I'm not saying working with practitioners is a bad thing. There are a lot of doctors and therapeutic partners that are doing a great job. They're doing the Lord's work. But there's a lot of them who really don't care about your well being and your longevity. And I mean, telling you, you got to get in the game and you got to get in the driver's seat. Well, get in the passenger side, let God drive, and God give you direction. And God, if you pray, God will lead you to the people who will give you what you need. The problem that I see, especially for the African American community, we get caught up in being impressed because somebody has a lot of acronyms behind their name and not understanding that God gave you this body to be a steward over it. Okay. So I want you to understand your role and your position, because once you abdicate responsibility, all things that will happen after that is going to be problematic for you. Okay. I'm not saying that your doctors are bad. I'm not saying don't listen to your doctors. But what I'm saying is that God gave you a brain. You can go to him. You can go to him and ask him for guidance. And there's nothing wrong with medical care if you need it. But all things may not relate to you. Okay. And so the only way that you will know how your body is responding is just have these tests and understand the data that comes from these test results. Okay. So after having an or glucose tolerance test, what do you need to do? These are things that I've done myself. I'm not a diabetic at all, but these are the things that I do to monitor my health. I wear a continuous glucose monitor. Now, unfortunately, I don't have one to recommend because the ones that I have been testing and trying, to me, don't perform very well, because most of these devices are made for diabetics. I'm not a diabetic, so it doesn't perform very well for me. So I'm still working on that. But a continuous glucose monitor, or a CGM, is going to help you monitor your blood sugar in real time. And what you're looking for are those foods that's going to spike your blood sugar or either cause your blood sugar to bottom out, right? You want stabilization. If you're insulin resistant and your blood sugar is not stable, that's what caused the problems. That's what caused the spikes. Okay. So you want to be able to track that data. And the only way that you can track that data in real time, going and getting your finger stuck, well, you can do a finger prick at home. But if you have to wait to go to the doctor after you eat or a week later, what is that going to, what good is that going to do for you? So you need to wear something or be able to use something that's going to check your blood sugar, or be able to give you a reading of your blood sugar in real time while you're eating. I think a continuous glucose monitor is probably the best thing that you can do. You can get those from your doctors. They can write a prescription for you to do it. Most doctors have pharmaceutical reps that come in their office and they can give you a monitor that lasts 14 days. That's a start. Some doctors will give you a prescription for one, and you can order some offline if you want to, if you don't have a relationship with a doctor. Okay. It's not a big deal, but it's for your health, so it's worth the investment. So you had the full blood work panel, you have the OGTT, you have now the glucose monitor. Now you want to track the data. The glucose monitor is going to track most of the data, but you want to monitor what you're eating, what are causing those spikes, what is causing your blood sugar to drop. And then you want to either remove or add some foods to your diet to mitigate what's going on. Okay, so what's next? You want to understand your baseline. So what is it that makes me feel well, that I don't feel lethargic, or the blood sugar readings are not high? What is that baseline for me? And then you adapt a diet protocol to accommodate that. One of the biggest problems that I see people make is, you hear people talk all the time in terms of like fitness influencers about carbohydrates and the potatoes, the rice, the starchy carbs. Now, for me, as I shared in the previous video, is a lot of times I knew what some of the things that was wrong. I just did not have the information, and I just did not know how to articulate what I was feeling. I cannot handle a lot of carbs. I'm not anti-carb. I love carbohydrates, but it just does not make me feel well. And so you yourself need to understand your tolerance for your carbohydrates. Are you a person who can handle non-starchy carbohydrates, which is your vegetables? Are you a person that can handle starchy carbohydrates, which is the potatoes? I wouldn't even recommend you eating rice. Uh, Sorry, guys, call came in. But are you that person who actually can handle the non-starchy versus the starchy carbohydrates? But then also understanding your tolerance for how much carbs, or how many carbs should you be consuming a day? I can not If I would eat 150 grams of carbs a day, for number one, I'd be big as a house. But number two, I'd be so lethargic that I couldn't function. So when I don't know if you all have ever heard of someone that says they would drink a soda or eat chocolate to get energy. Well, it'll do the opposite for me. And everybody has a specific need. I'm not telling you what I do is the best for you. What I'm telling you to do is find out by getting the test and getting the objective data to find out what you need to do for yourself. Okay, it is a real thing. Many people will make you feel wrong or feel bad because you say that I eat a low carb diet and that type of thing. Everybody has their own road, their own way that's going to make them live a better life and a quality life. Okay. And then the other thing I would encourage you to do is this: start documenting what you're eating. This is very difficult for people. Some people say, I don't like eating the same thing every day, or I like to go out and eat. And that, well, I put all that aside because I want to be in the best health that I possibly can be in. So, in order for you to get a handle on it, if you are diabetic or you're pre-diabetic, you really need to get a handle on what's going on. And eating out sometimes, most of the time, it's not going to be the best thing for you. Two things that I focus on. Again, I'm not a diabetic. I'm not a diabetic. But two things that I focus on, just in general for me, I focus on my protein and I focus on my fiber. Those are the first two things that I focus on: protein and fiber. Number one, protein is going to keep you satiated, but the fiber is one of the things that, in addition to a lot of other health benefits, it can help you regulate your blood sugar, which is fiber is something that most of us are lacking in and that we do not get enough of in a day. So protein and fiber are the two line items that I focus on. Then fat, and then carbohydrates are last. Most of my carbs come, well, pretty much all of my carbohydrates come from non-starchy sources, which is going to be your vegetables and things of that nature. Okay. Um, for you, it may be something different. You may have to find your own way. My point is, there's a way for all of us. There's a way for all of us to really optimize the way that we live. You don't have to be limited in your sources of, your sources of food and that type of thing. But if you're in this stage where you have some type of medical issue, you have to be tight with it until you get it under control. I have personally seen the effects of diabetes in my own family's life. I've seen the amputations, I've seen the dialysis, I've seen the necrotic tissues, I've seen not one leg amputated, both legs amputated. I've seen toes removed. I've seen the insulin injections, that type of thing. I've seen the heart conditions. It's not necessary if you just take an active role. Just think about what is the quality of life that I want to have, and going to get a test done and changing my diet is going to keep me from being in a doctor's office, keep me from being hospitalized. And let me tell you something, when you get in these situations and you start having these really heavy medical issues, how many times somebody's going to pick you up from dialysis? How long will it be for somebody to want to sit there and change the bandages on your wounds, right? How many times somebody going to have to pick you up out of the bed to put you in a wheelchair? That's going to get old at some point. And I think a lot of times we don't think about the burden that we put on people when we can change and make a different decision so the outcome can be different. So I don't want to get on my soapbox. I think all of us need to understand that God made us stewards over these bodies for a period of time, and it's our responsibility to take care of them and to do whatever we can to make this life and this body that He's given us to take care of it for the time that we have it, because it's only a short time, right? But I want to encourage you to find your way. Find your way of lowering your health risks, because mine may be different from yours may be different from mine, but all of us can find a way to live a life that is full, that is vibrant, and that we can focus on longevity. The last thing I want to do is give over my care to someone else who don't even know me. I thank God for the doctors that I have made partnerships with throughout the years. Some has been good, some has been terrible. But I don't marry into what a doctor says. I trust what God has given to me by the Holy Spirit. And if I need to change, I make that change. If I can work with that doctor, I can work with that doctor. Otherwise, I find somebody else that can help me. But no, it's not an option for me. I will do whatever it takes for me to live a quality life, because I've seen the other side. So I'm going to hop off. I hope that this video blesses you. If you want to know how to lower your health risk and devise or come up with a plan that works specifically for you, make sure you click the link in the descriptions below. Take care and be blessed, everybody.